Have you noticed how increasingly difficult it is to think clearly? Focus on a task for more than 5 minutes, or make a simple decision without feeling that mental exhaustion. That shouldn't be there. How can you have a house full of things but feel empty? A busy schedule but unproductive? A cell phone full of contacts but deeply disconnected? Here's the truth no one wants to admit. You're not overwhelmed because you have too much work, or too many responsibilities. You're literally buried under layers of useless weight you've accumulated and refused to shed. Every item you keep just in case you need it someday. Every notification you allow to interrupt your focus. Every circular thought you process 1,000 times without taking action. It's all dead. Weight draining your energy and clarity, while you're trying to optimize your life by adding more systems, more productivity apps, more organizational techniques. You're essentially trying to arrange your junk in ever more sophisticated ways instead of having the courage to throw it away. Physical clutter is materialized mental clutter. Overthinking is anxiety disguised as control. Infinite scrolling is dopamine sold in exchange for your capacity for deep attention. There's an invisible but devastating cost to every layer of excess you carry. It's not just wasted time or occupied space, it's destroyed mental clarity, wasted energy processing noise, and personal power. Surrender to external forces you don't even realize are controlling your life. In the next few minutes, you'll learn exactly why you need to stop accumulating useless weight, physical, mental, and digital, before it completely buries you. You're not overwhelmed by legitimate demands that matter. You're literally buried under an avalanche of noise you've allowed to accumulate over months or years of indiscriminately saying yes. It's like trying to breathe under a pile of rubble. Technically, you're still alive, but each breath is an unnecessary struggle against a weight you could simply remove. The problem isn't the volume of real work, it's the volume of pseudo-work, empty commitments, obligations you've accepted out of guilt or convenience, and tasks that exist only because you never had the courage to eliminate them. Every open browser tab represents a fragmented intention. Every unmanaged notification is a consented interruption. Every pending item on your list is a piece of your attention constantly hijacked. You've turned your life into a chaotic operations center where everything seems urgent, but nothing actually moves forward, because your energy is torn in 1,000 simultaneous directions. The chaos you experience isn't accidental, random, or the result of bad luck. It's the inevitable and predictable price of a systematic inability to say no and set functional boundaries. Every time you accept another demand without eliminating something already present, you're essentially trying to squeeze more water into an already overflowing cup, and then wondering why it's always wet. Overworked people don't need more productivity, more organization, or better systems. They need a brutal elimination of everything that's non-essential. It's like trying to clean out a cluttered house with advanced organizing techniques. You can rearrange the trash in increasingly sophisticated ways, but you're still living in a dumpster until you muster the courage to throw it away. Your current routine is 80% composed of noise that you call responsibilities, but which are actually just dead weight you carry out of fear of disappointment, habit, or because you've never stopped to question whether it really needs to exist. Excess doesn't steal your time. You can even get time back eventually. What it steals permanently and insidiously is your clarity, your ability to think deeply, to focus on what truly matters, to make strategic decisions, instead of just constantly putting out fires. When you're operating under chronic overload, your brain goes into survival mode where it can only process the next urgent item on your list, completely losing the ability to assess whether you're heading in the right direction or just frantically running in circles. It's the difference between navigating with a clear map versus being lost in a storm, where you can only see 10 feet ahead and are too busy trying not to sink to ask if you're going where you really want to go. Clarity requires mental space, and mental space only exists when you ruthlessly eliminate the excess that's taking up every available inch of your cognitive operating system. Physical clutter isn't just a lack of organization or aesthetic laziness, it's literally mental clutter that's materialized in the tangible world. A physical mirror of the internal chaos you're trying to ignore. When you look at that pile of papers you never processed, that drawer stuffed with things You might need one day that corner of the house that's become a dumping ground for purposeless objects. You're not just seeing disorganization, you're seeing postponed decisions, abandoned projects, old versions of yourself you haven't yet had the courage to let go of. Every useless object taking up space is a constant visual reminder of something you started and didn't finish, something you promised to do and didn't, something you bought on impulse and never used. This isn't neutral, it's psychological weight disguised as matter. And your brain processes each item as an unfinished task that drains energy, even when you're not consciously thinking about it. Physical cleanliness isn't about Instagram aesthetics or performative minimalism to impress guests. It's about psychological hygiene, about creating an environment that supports mental clarity rather than constantly sabotaging it. Cluttered environments create cluttered minds because your brain is constantly visually processing the chaos around you, wasting cognitive resources categorizing, ignoring, and navigating through relevant visual information when it should be focused on the work that truly matters. It's like trying to have a serious conversation in a noisy restaurant. Technically, you can, but you're expending extra energy filtering out background noise that wouldn't exist in a clean environment. When you remove physical clutter, you're not just tidying up, you're removing visual triggers of anxiety, eliminating reminders of incompleteness, and creating literal and psychological space for clarity to emerge. The invisible weight of the physical body works like this. You may not consciously notice every unnecessary object, but your nervous system is constantly scanning the environment, and every visual item registered is wasted brain processing that could be used for productive thought. It's death by 1,000 intentional cuts. No individual object seems significant, but collectively they create a chronic cognitive load that leaves you mentally exhausted without knowing exactly why. People who live in clean, minimalist environments aren't necessarily more disciplined or organized by nature. Many of them simply understand that eliminating physical excess is one of the quickest and most tangible ways to regain mental clarity. Overthinking isn't a sign of deep intelligence or strategic care. It's just anxiety disguised as control, a comforting illusion that if you process the problem 1,000 more times in your head, you'll eventually find the perfect answer that eliminates all risk. The brutal truth is that you already had the useful insights the first 3 times you thought about the problem. Everything after that is just unproductive rumination. Your brain chewing the same piece of information over and over like a cow chewing grass, never truly digesting or moving forward. The more you think without acting, the more you convince yourself you're working on the problem, when in reality you're just procrastinating with the appearance of diligence. It's like reviewing the map 1,000 times instead of starting to drive. Eventually you have to accept that perfect clarity doesn't exist before the journey, and that more thinking won't change that. Overthinking is essentially a form of self-paralysis where you use endless analysis as an excuse to never have to face the discomfort of action. The more you think without doing, the less you act. And the less you act, the more you become trapped in a vicious mental cycle where thinking replaces action. It's a destructive loop. You overthink about doing something, which makes you anxious. The anxiety makes you think even more, trying to find certainty. The certainty never arrives because you're trying to solve with thought something that only action can solve, so you keep thinking endlessly while nothing actually happens. People trapped in this cycle are simply sophisticated procrastinators who have developed an uncanny ability to avoid real work through endless analysis. Genuine clarity doesn't come from consuming more information, processing more scenarios, or thinking more intensely. It comes from silence, from the empty mental space where insights can emerge organically without being drowned out by constant cognitive noise. It's like trying to hear a subtle melody while someone shouts in your ear. Technically, the sound is there, but you have no chance of perceiving it through the noise. Your brain needs moments of real stillness, not scrolling disguised as rest, but genuine silence without external input to process, integrate, and synthesize all the information you've already accumulated. The irony is that people who obsessively seek more information thinking it will bring clarity are doing exactly the opposite. They're adding more noise to an already overloaded system, ensuring they'll never have the mental space necessary to truly understand what they already know. You don't need more data, You need less interference to process the data you already have. Infinite scrolling has become the new cigarette of the digital generation. No one needs it. Everyone knows it's bad for them, but everyone does it compulsively because it fills a momentary void, while creating a much greater void in the long run. It's a socially accepted and even celebrated addiction, where people pride themselves on being connected when in reality they're just numb, consuming empty information at a speed that guarantees zero real processing or meaningful retention. You pick up your phone saying you'll check it quickly, and 3 hours later, you're in a hole of irrelevant content that you don't even remember what you consumed. But you feel that mental fatigue characteristic of someone who has bombarded their brain with thousands of meaningless micro-stimuli. Every 15-second video, every endless thread of opinions, every feed algorithmically optimized to keep you scrolling, is literally stealing fragments of your attention span and selling them to advertisers. You're not relaxing or getting informed. You're voluntarily giving away your most valuable resource, focused attention, in exchange for cheap dopamine that leaves you emptier than before. Every video you watch without really meaning to, every feed you scroll through without real purpose, every random opinion from strangers you passively absorb is stealing a fragment of your attention, and unlike money or time, fragmented attention can't be restored simply by stopping spending. It's like shattering a mirror. You can put the pieces back together, but it never returns to the way it was before. Your ability to focus deeply, to sustain attention on a difficult task for prolonged periods, to think deeply about complex problems, all of this has been systematically destroyed by years of training to consume information in fragments of seconds. You literally can't read a 2-page article without picking up your phone anymore, because your brain has been conditioned to expect constant rewards every few seconds. A digital detox isn't a luxury for those privileged with free time, it's basic cognitive survival. For anyone who wants the ability to think, create, or build something that requires more than 3 seconds of sustained attention. You didn't accidentally lose focus through bad luck or lack of discipline. You actively sold your capacity for deep attention in exchange for constant doses of digital dopamine. And now you're surprised to find you can no longer do work that requires real concentration. It's like selling your furniture piece by piece to pay for momentary entertainment, and then wondering why your house is empty. Every time you choose scrolling over deep reading, short videos over focused work, or endless feeds over productive silence, you're making a trade where you exchange long-term cognitive capacity for very short-term superficial pleasure. Eliminating isn't about losing, renouncing, or giving up. It's about exercising the most fundamental power you possess, consciously choosing what deserves to occupy your limited space, physical, mental, and digital, and having the courage to remove everything that doesn't pass this rigorous test. Most people live suffocated by excess because they confuse accumulation with abundance, when in reality, true abundance is having exactly what you need and nothing more. It's like the difference between a closet stuffed with 100 pieces of clothing you never wear versus 10 pieces you truly love, and where constantly the former seems more, but leaves you feeling poor in options. The latter seems less, but leaves you feeling rich in clarity. When you ruthlessly eliminate what doesn't serve you, you're not getting less, you're revealing the essentials that were hidden beneath layers of noise. Every object removed, every appointment canceled, every notification silenced is you reclaiming a piece of sovereignty over your own life that you had willingly surrendered to external forces. Clarity has become the new luxury in an age of information overload where everyone has access to everything, but no one can process anything with real depth, and genuine silence has become the highest status. In a culture that values constant noise and infinite availability, rich people can buy expensive products, but truly powerful people can buy unfragmented time and attention, can create periods of total silence where they are undisturbed by external demands. This is why billionaire CEOs go on meditation retreats and fiercely guard their mornings. While ordinary people wake up enslaved to their phones, it's not futile spirituality. It's a pragmatic recognition that mental clarity is the most valuable and scarce resource in the modern economy. When you clear your life of excess and aggressively protect your mental space, you're not being minimalist for aesthetics. You're being strategic about where you invest your most limited and valuable resource. Those who rigorously control what enters their mind, what information they consume, what people have access to their attention, what thoughts they allow to occupy mental space essentially control the entire trajectory of their lives, because actions come from thoughts and thoughts come from inputs. If you allow any garbage in digital, physical, or mental, you will produce garbage output. Simple as that. Every time you choose to eliminate instead of add, to simplify instead of complicate, to protect your mental space instead of letting it be invaded, you are literally fighting against an entire economic system that requires you to be constantly overloaded, distracted, and consuming. Clearing is power because clarity is power, and clarity only exists where there is space, physical, mental, and digital space that you have earned through the brutal elimination of everything that doesn't deserve to be there. Now you have access to a truth that most people will spend their entire lives avoiding. The problem isn't that you need more organization, more systems, more productivity. The problem is that you need less, much less, and you don't have the courage to eliminate the excess that's suffocating your clarity. But knowing this truth doesn't change anything if you don't have the courage to do something simple, but uncomfortable. Look at your life and ruthlessly remove everything that doesn't deserve to be taking up your physical, mental, or digital space. So answer me with complete honesty. Are you prepared to eliminate, not reorganize, not optimize, but literally throw away at least half of the things, commitments, and digital inputs you're carrying right now? And most crucially, are you willing to accept the temporary discomfort of living with less in exchange for permanent clarity? Because here's the brutal reality. Every day you continue carrying useless weight. You're choosing overwhelm over clarity, chaos over control, reactivity over power. The difference between people you admire for their mental clarity and you isn't in their cognitive ability or superhuman discipline, it's in their willingness to eliminate everything that's non-essential while you're still trying to make it all fit. Removing excess isn't a loss, it's the only real path to regaining power over your own life. In a culture that profits from its constant fragmentation, clarity is the new luxury. Silence is the new status quo, and the ability to say no and ruthlessly eliminate is the most valuable skill you can develop. If this video showed you that you are buried under the weight you chose to carry, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and the next time we meet here, I want you to have already eliminated at least one source of useless weight and felt the difference of breathing with more mental space. Until the next video.